Also, getting back to the bank.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that North Dakota is a very different state.
Yes, ma'am.
From Alabama. And you can imagine if they have the power to lend state money to business, the cronyism that could come into it. I mean, I just think there's a tremendous opportunity for corruption there.
The one thing
what kind of parameters and controls would you put in?
Well, let me just say this, that the North Dakota state-owned bank is a business model that has truly weathered the test of time. Okay? Further to that, you have to understand the state of North Dakota does not bank with all of the other banks. They don't have their accounts with all everything runs through their bank. A bank lends money based on its deposits. Okay? So, and that bank also takes in and has as its customers citizens of North Dakota. So it's not limited just to the state is its only customer. Now, relative to the state of Alabama, I am a very big proponent of checks and balances and independence. So as a result, it's a matter of how you control and check and balance it and procedures that you put into place. Now, the state of North Dakota, I would first and foremost say a business model that has stood the test of time as it has. I would take that template and then I would begin to apply it to the state of Alabama. But you have to understand that the state of Alabama goes through a tremendous amount of money. Okay? Both depositing and check writing. Additionally, the state has a whole lot of banks here that it banks with. And if you want to know, you see how many of those banks contributed to the governor's foundation. Now, not his campaign, but his foundation for his inauguration, because they can contribute anything they want. Unlike campaign contributions have limits. They can contribute as much as they want, and they did.
To the foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
My point exactly.
So as a result, it has its own independent oversight and structure, but Jefferson County, my home county, to me has written the book on political corruption.
You never lived in Louisiana.
Well, let me tell you something. I truly think that that some of the folks in Jefferson County could teach anybody and everybody a lesson. Because there are people with PhDs that still can't understand what was going on. But the state has its $2.5 million, and I'm not saying that it needs to be risky with it. But what I am saying is that the opportunity cost associated with that money are truly staggering. Now, I understand it's a rainy day fund. I agree with rainy day funds. Okay? So I very much support that. What I do not necessarily support is having it just sitting there and not truly having it working for the people.
Isn't it invested?
Well, it's invested, but it's fairly conservative in its investments. But I would argue that I would much rather invest in something that is and for the state and benefits the state than have it be an independent investments. But that's just me. That's just me. Any other questions?
Enjoyed it. Very, very good.
Thank you.
I agree with some of your stuff that Dan implied. Ask her.
Thanks for coming, Bob.
Okay,
Gotta
there we
hold real
go.
hard.
And that's my people. They have to, we're building our own printing place right now.
Well, you understand what I'm saying? Are you gonna be able to print money at that place?
No.
Oh, well.
Well, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do you know what Ron Sparks is doing? Why did Governor Bentley appoint him? A Democrat who ran against him, who is not frugal with money at all.
Oh, come on.
You know, the thing is, you know, I'm staring at a camera and this thing's gonna be posted.
And I'll tell you this.
I will say this. My understanding is that he is making in excess of what he was making as Commissioner of Agriculture and Industries. And as I understand it, it's a noticeable step up. I do not agree with the creation of the position, nor the person chosen to fill the position. To that extent, the rural economics or the rural economic development, I just don't feel that needs to be an independent component. I think it needs to be a part of an overall push. And to have it carved out and be independent, I think isolates the end result that it will achieve.
I don't know it will. With him at the
Well, the
helm.
answer I was given, I asked about it, and they closed out 2 different departments to make up his salary, which is $80,000.
Well, just because you close something out, that doesn't
Right.
mean you have to spend the money.
And then here's the other part of it. Ron will not be making any decisions on his own. The governor will make the decisions.
Well, then what does it need Ron for?
Right, and it's what I said.
Well,
Exactly.
in addition to the fact that the governor is not taking a salary. Now,
Which is not.
let me also say that you, along those same lines, that you can also take the attitude, well, you get what you pay for.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, I could agree with that.
There are several members of his cabinet who are being paid extremely well. Now, let me kind of put things in a little bit of perspective of how things can totally go awry. In Jefferson County, which y'all don't care about Jefferson County, but you need to care.
I do, because I've got a daughter, a school teacher down there.
Well, it doesn't
You just
matter.
behave yourself.
You folks need to learn and understand about Jefferson County, because if Jefferson County goes bankrupt, it's going to be the nation's largest bankruptcy. But let me tell you something. If Jefferson County files bankruptcy, every state, every county in this state, both large and small counties, every town and every city is going to have trouble borrowing money and issuing bonds, which means the cost for capital improvements may have to, these capital improvements may not be able to be done until they have cash because they can't issue the bonds. Now, let me further elaborate Jefferson County relative to problems. Now, I didn't come up here to talk about Jefferson County because I want to talk about the state. But Jefferson County has an internal legal department, which is not so bad. But it has 5 attorneys. 4 of the 5 attorneys make more than $250,000 a year in wages alone. Now, let me put that to you in perspective. That's more than the U.S. Attorney General. That's more than the state Attorney General, and our state Attorney General is one of the highest paid state Attorney Generals in the country. Yet our cost of living is very low. Now, that got a response from you, but
Yeah.
make sure that she doesn't fall out of the chair.
She won't.
Don't fall.
The lead attorney makes more than the President of the United States of America.
That's a half a million dollars.
He makes more than $400,000 a year.
President makes $400,000.
The
Now-
president makes 400,000.
Let me give you the kicker here. These 5 attorneys get a 5% annual increase mandated by resolution with no ceiling to their pay grades whatsoever. Now, let me explain something in terms of financial terms. Based on compounding, these people's salaries double about every 10 and a half years.
You may be right, Jefferson County may be more corrupt than Jackson County.
Yeah. And that is why.
Now, I bring that up because that is one county in Alabama. That's one county. But we have got to, the people have got to understand the relationship that exists with government. And most people don't think of it like they do the stock investments they have. They don't think about the fact that the CEO is the governor, for example. They don't think about the fact that the House and the Senate are really akin to the board of directors. And they certainly don't think about it to the extent that they themselves, the stockholders, are in fact the stockholders of our government, the owners.
We're not getting any dividends, but
So, most of the time, when I put it in that perspective, people know it, but it kind of brings it home, if you will. And so, I'm very serious in what I say, that as individuals, when times are tight, we just, we tighten our belts. And yet, our politicians want pay raises. They want everybody else to tighten their belt, but they don't want to. That's what I mean when I talk about the hypocrisy that exists. Now, I can tell you this, and again, I go back to when I said I'm not hypocritical. The way I live my life is the way I've managed the businesses, is the way that I run, and I don't want to say run, but because FSPAR is so new, but the way that FSPAR will be run and managed. And, God forbid, God willing, take your pick, if I ever should run for office, it would be those same values that I would bring.